Hi, and welcome to a new edition of the Authentic Leadership Roadshow. Role models, we need them. And sometimes it seems like they're not there, which is normal because there's only like one or two generations before us that started to actively participate in what we call the normal economic and social life. And if you when you are a leader, when you are an entrepreneur or an executive, sometimes you see people in your organization that made it, but they seem so far away. Or maybe these women are not the role model that you are looking for because it doesn't resonate what she does or what she says. And so this platform, the Authentic Leadership Roadshow, is a platform for you where we invite authentic, strong women, leaders, women that made their way, that have a vision and a mission. And the whole idea is that you just sit still, listen and watch, and see what resonates, see what you can learn. The idea is to encourage you, to inspire you, to give examples, and to make sure that you see other options and other possibilities than what is normal or standard in your life. So, hi, welcome. I'm Helena Demuynck. I'm a transformation guide for smart, conscious, and high achieving women. And I am thrilled to be here with Sonja. Sonja Kresojevic is a wanderer, an artist, a curator, a speaker, and a facilitator, connecting people and initiatives that inspire her. I invite you to see her LinkedIn profile and the posts she put there. They are amazing. I just love it. And you will immediately feel and resonate with the posts and what she's going to tell you here. After 20 years of innovation strategy and digital and business transformation, she finds herself right now on a new path as an emerging artist. In response to a lifelong inquiry into questions of identity, belonging, and system change. She's a founder of ReVillage, an initiative focused on building an ecosystem of people, places, and practices that nurture inner development, invests in strong communities, and co-create a new story of what it means to be human through shared, lived experiments and creative explorations. Sonja advises, writes, and speaks on a range of topics relating to human-centric transformation, innovation, conscious leadership, and creativity, and works with organizations and leaders who need support navigating uncertainty, finding their sense of purpose, and co-creating future scenarios from a place of emergence. She's an emergent artist with exhibitions in Milan, Rome, and Madrid, and a resident of the House of Beautiful Business, beautiful, a global think tank and community aiming to radically change the language, systems, and practices of business and shape a more positive vision for technology, business, and humanity. Isn't that a beautiful introduction? Welcome, Sonja. You are here to share with us what it is to be a leader, what it is to find your voice, to build your vision, to have a mission, and to follow it. So, what do you want to start with?
Wow, an open question.
I love them.
maybe just give people a sense of who I am and where I come from and why I'm on this path and why I have chosen to do things that I'm doing now.
Absolutely.
As you asked me at the beginning of the conversation where I'm from ex-Yugoslavia. I left the country during the war. And it's been 30 years last month, and I feel like I have completed a cycle of being on this journey of trying to find a place of belonging, a place where I feel like I'm not going mad and people actually understand what I'm doing. And I'm not quite sure that that place exists in a physical form for me anymore. It exists through people and projects that I do and through connections I make. It exists in my art, but not as a physical place. So a couple of months ago, I decided to abandon the last physical place I was living in, London, and become a nomad full time. So
Whoa.
everything I have been doing over the last 7 years in terms of change and inner transformation is now culminating in this post-motherhood opening of a new life for me, where I can go and explore what it means to be a leader, a woman, a mother without any boundaries that are being imposed on me by society, family, or anyone else. In terms of my professional career, I started as an engineer. I have a double master's in electrical engineering and computer science, but never really worked in a field. And as I shared at my son's school, I was always hired to do a job that didn't exist in the company that hired me. They would hire me to do something that on paper sounded like a role, but then I would mold that into what the company and the set of circumstances and the team needed. So if you want, I was always in the roles to do with transformation, with innovation, with change. And I pushed that boulder up the hill for 20 years in corporate world in England and US. And in my last role in New York 7 years ago, I was an executive, and the world was saying, you're doing so well. They were giving me awards. They were throwing money at me. I was living in a beautiful loft in Tribeca, and I didn't have a minute for myself, not a minute for my child. I would walk him to school and not remember whether we talked on that walk or not. And I would go and do 17 hours a day. And I thought that was normal. And I thought that's what's expected of a leader, right? To give everything, to sacrifice everything, to not think of herself, to, focus on a greater good for the organization, for the team, for everyone else but her. Until I came to a point where I felt lost completely. And I didn't have words for what was happening. I think burnout was not quite on my agenda yet. I didn't have the awareness of that's what I was going through. Anyway, the story short, 7 years later, and I'm here in south of France, surrounded by vineyards, painting and coaching and working with leaders and trying to, not just share some of what I have learned, but hold the space and inspire people and show them that it's possible, that we get to make these courageous choices that are not obvious always, but are very much needed, that we need to learn how to prioritize ourselves, that our job as leaders is to ensure that we don't add toxicity to the world, and that starts with us, with the role we play, with how we behave, with how we hold space, with how much we give to our teams, but not in terms of micromanaging or doing everything for them, but just allowing them to live this fulfilling life in which they can flourish and be creative, and they can inspire future generations, where we take joint responsibility for this beautiful planet of ours. And it's possible. And I'm one of the examples. I think when you talked about role models, I was reflecting on how I didn't have role models growing up, because the role models I had, starting with my mother and her mother, was strong women who sacrificed everything for their families and who never had a minute for themselves. And if they had some time for themselves, was a stolen moment here and there after kids have grown up. And I think we need to do better. And I don't think we need celebrities to inspire us or powerful women who have written books. We need us, regular women, day to day, who are doing incredible things, and who are doing incredible things, I think, when they come to a certain age as well, because the space opens up.
Absolutely.
The kids leave, and all of a sudden, all your energy, your creative energy is back to be used for you. And I think I always say we are the most powerful group on the planet right now, and the group that is completely undermined by the system and ignored by the system. So if there is going to be a change, it's going to be a change led by women our age who are incredible,
Absolutely.
so powerful, so beautiful, so brave, so courageous, so inspiring, artistic, incredible.
I believe that too. That so much resonates with me, Sonja. I have a similar story, You come from corporate world. I come from entrepreneurial world, where I was doing like 100 hours per week without any problem. 7 for 7 most of the time.
Yeah.
And I thought that was normal. I thought my customers needed that. I thought my people on my payroll needed that. I thought this was the normal thing to do. And the same, I have one son who actually did not really see me, and he was taken care of very well. So there was not the guilt, or there were no issues. But I had the same. And 3 years ago, I decided to come to Spain. I'm not a digital nomad like you, but I decided to come to Spain, and I am on a finca where I grow vegetables and herbs, and I have chickens, I have a dog, and I combine that with my coaching work online and here in retreats. It's exactly the same. And a lot of people told me or asked me, but what are you doing? You know, are you crazy? Or how can you survive there? Or are you not afraid? Or what about your family? A lot of questions that actually was reflecting their own concerns and their own fears. But I guess you have encountered the same feedback or criticism or however. And I feel that with a lot of women, that is a major reason not to do things, not to step out the rat race, not to step out the standard life and the comfort zone. So you made it sound so easy, and I probably also make it sound so easy to do that. But what did it take to do that for you?
It took everything. It took literally everything. And it's the hardest thing I have done. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it and make it sound like, you know, I'm living this beautiful life in south of France. I'm just here temporarily, by the way. One of my many stops on this journey. It took everything because I wasn't ready, or not that I wasn't ready. Maybe I didn't realize what it will take. When I stepped off from my career, I told to myself, you know, I'll take a couple months off. I'll get some sleep. I go to yoga retreat. I, you know, travel a bit, reconnect with myself. And then, you know, a few months turned into a year, and 1 year turned into multiple years. And the more I was peeling the layers and layers of conditioning that was imposed on me, the more I was waking up to the things I was doing to myself. The more I was engaging with healing, with coaching for myself, trying all these different therapies and things to see, who am I? This is the question, not who my parents wanted me to be or what I thought I needed to do for my children, or, you know, all these obligations and burdens I have placed on my shoulders over the years, thinking I had to, you know. One of the healers early on my journey told me the life is supposed to be easy and you're not supposed to lift a finger. And I got so upset with her. And I thought, what do you mean I'm not supposed to lift a finger? But I'm a single mom. I have 2 children that depend on me. I have bills to pay. Life in New York is super expensive. How do you want me to survive if I don't do? You know, we are so conditioned by these system, right? To prove our worth to the system by being as busy as possible. You know, what you're talking about, whether we are entrepreneurs or we work in corporate world, our sense of worth comes from external validation, from our bosses, our, you know, society, our neighbors, our families telling us that we are worth something. And we are worth something we are doing. If we can prove that we have been, you know, very efficient during the day and have accomplished so many wonderful things. But what we don't take into account is that that type of behavior, that deep-seated unhappiness that we agree to willingly, where you hear men and women talking about being hostages in their lives, right? They can't change anything. These are the sets of circumstances that have been just given to us, and we need to learn how to weather that storm. We pass that on to our children.
Yes.
I have 2. My daughter is 28. My son's just turned 18. And, you know, she took a brunt of the upbringing that, you know, I didn't know better at that time, right? I was the most efficient mother on the planet. I have given everything to my children, but I wasn't there emotionally because I didn't know how to be there emotionally. I wasn't there emotionally for myself either. I was there. I went to every single parent-teacher meeting. I took her to doctor's appointments. I drove her to after-school activities. But what she saw is this superwoman who cannot do wrong, who is killing herself at work, who is killing herself at home, who wants to be that. I was so unrelatable because there was no vulnerability. I wouldn't allow vulnerability to my life. There were no cracks, not for the world to see. There were cracks on the inside, right? But not for the world to see. And my daughter couldn't cope. And one of the big reasons I decided to step away from my career and everything is because she was struggling so much. And I realized that I couldn't. I wanted to be a better mother. I wanted to be a mother that's relatable, that's vulnerable, that can share her emotions, that can be emotionally there as well. But to do that, I needed to be there for myself as well. I needed to discover who I was finally in my 40s. I mean, how sad to get to that age and not have a clue who you are.
Well,
So
I think you're not alone, Sonja. I think
no,
a lot
I'm
of
not.
women will find this, very resonating and will relate to that because,
Yeah,
like you say, we are not living our own lives for
no.
many years. We are living the lives our parents want, or educators want. There's so many layers that are not ours, and it takes so much courage and so much, strength to take off these layers and to show yourself in first stage to yourself and also to others
Yeah,
as who you really are, not as who you are supposed to be. And there's so much judgment, so much criticism from everywhere. And if we
yeah,
are vulnerable for that, then we just take on these shields again because it feels
mm,
safer, because we do not want to feel the hurt. We do not want to hear the rejection. We do not want to be in that criticism energy. And that's why many people stay where they are as a choice,
yeah,
even if they know that they could do something different, because they just don't want the judgment.
yeah.
So
I think there
I
is
think it's very
something a
courageous.
bit deeper here as well for me, and that's for us to survive and thrive in the system as it is right now that hasn't been designed with us in mind,
Exactly.
right?
Mm.
We had to learn, I had to learn, I'll speak from my personal experience, how to maximize working from that strong masculine energy and how to completely suppress and ignore anything that's feminine, that's seen as weak in the society.
Mm-hmm.
And so I became very good at my job in order to be able to compete, in order to be able to progress in my career, in order to be able to get to a certain level that I thought was expected of me. And as a result, the sacrifice was losing myself, was losing my femininity, because in this system where we talk about balance, we still cannot show up as we are,
Mm-hmm.
even today, right?
Yeah,
I can
absolutely.
because I have made that choice, but it has cost me a lot. It has cost me work opportunities. It has cost me career progression. It has cost me friends. It has cost me loved ones because people didn't understand.
Mm.
Why are you going against the grain? Why are you sacrificing everything? How many times, well-minded friend has told me over the last 7 years, just, get back to real life, go
Mm.
find a job somewhere.
Yeah, I
And you know why I
understand.
didn't?
Mm.
Because I saw my kids thrive. If I had a moment of doubt, even at my lowest, one of many dark nights of the soul, it's never just one. If I had any doubt about this path, I would look at my children who are thriving now, both of them, and see that it was worth it. To see that I have given them freedom that I wish my parents have given me when I was that age.
Mm-hmm.
To
Yeah.
go and choose and experiment and fail and be creative and be courageous and find their voice early on in life and be not afraid to speak that voice. I mean, I'm in awe of my young boy who is, just turned 18, who just over the summer since I left, without an ounce of guilt, by the way, that I was leaving him in London, which is not something I will have been able to do before. But 2 years ago, he sat me down during COVID and said, Mom, we are so close, we are so connected. You need to help me leave in 2 years and it's time to go. And I took that very much to heart, understanding that my role as mother is to create a space in which he can just fly. fly the nest without any ounce of guilt or attachment to me. And we've done our work over the years together. And when I left, he was ready, but not
Beautiful.
ready as in, he's now flying off. No, he's having a hard time adjusting to this life on his own, but he's taking ownership for it, which is incredible to see at 18. Over the summer, he has changed his mind 3 times about whether he's going to university now or taking a gap year, and he decided to take a gap year at the end. He's looking for work. He's starting a fashion brand. He went and volunteered with refugees, and he's trying all these different things to see who is he on his own, not with me, on his own, in his own right. And what a beautiful gift. What a beautiful gift to be able to do that at 18. Absolutely. He told me years ago, by showing me that you're not afraid to try and fail, and by telling me that you don't know anymore, you have given me permission not to know as well.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you the weight that was lifted off my shoulders when I finally admitted to myself that I don't have any answers. That I'm not supposed to have the answers.
Exactly. That is okay. That is okay.
Yes.
Because that is one of the reasons why we don't do things, because we want to know all the answers beforehand, and we cannot. It is impossible. Some things are just a leap of faith, and also a leap of trusting yourself and trusting the universe and trusting your community of support, and just doing and taking the next step, baby steps. And like you say, you took that first step 7 years ago, and now look where it brought you. Same here. It is about not being afraid. I believe when I look at myself, I had some serious setbacks in life, and it made me understand that whatever happens, we always survive. I know that I'm talking from a Western standpoint, because I know that there are circumstances that are a lot harder and more dangerous and more difficult. But I mean, the things that standard happen to us are so survivable. They're like, phases or things in our lives that if we can just get around that or just get on top of that, we can do anything. And if you have these failures and these things that didn't work, and you get up again, you rise again, then you know that you can take a lot. And then you don't have to be afraid, because if you have your health and your brain, and you have some spirituality, some connection with the universe, and you can build a network of people that are like-minded, I think the world is yours.
Yeah. But I seriously think that it has to start with us reconnecting with our voice, with really speaking courageously. I think most of women had that third chakra closed completely, because we have been silenced over and over and over. I think it has to do with reconnecting with our bodies, with the innate wisdom that our bodies hold, our intuition. I think it has a lot to do with our creativity. When I started to paint 2 years ago, it is by far the biggest surprise of my life. If you asked me 3 years ago whether this is possible for me, it wasn't even on the radar. I was always artistic in a sense that I appreciated art. I go to every single exhibition everywhere. But it is possible for me to paint. For me, who thought that, I'm really good at math. I'm really good at system thinking. I'm, engineer. I'm this, I'm that. All these ideas that you build of who you think you are based on the choices you have made. That showed me that even in our imagination, we limit ourselves. Exactly. And now I don't even want to define myself as an artist in a traditional sense of the word. For me, artist means someone who is courageous enough to go and live life on their terms and to be constantly learning and experimenting. So I'm asking myself every day, what else can I be? What else can I experience? Who else can I work with? What else can I learn? Where is this road taking me? And the signs the universe always speaks to us, right? But we don't understand necessarily those signs because we have these expectations of what life is supposed to look like. And so we ignore. We ignore intuition, we ignore signs, we ignore everything. You know what? Early on in the journey, I was such a good, student as with everything in my life up to that point. So when I decided that I was going to change my life, I seriously decided I was going to change my life. So I enrolled myself in every spiritual course. I took all these healers, therapists. I was literally going from one session to another. And at some point I said to one of the healers, "Oh, I feel I'm so close." Because back in the day, I felt that there was an end to this, this suffering of breaking myself apart and putting myself back together. It will have to end. I will learn something. I will get to the other side or whatever this change is. And then I can go and be successful again and do wonderful things. And she looked at me. She didn't laugh. She was kind enough and said, "Okay, we'll see." And literally within 3 months of me proclaiming that I'm so close, my whole life, whatever was left of it, has fallen apart. I went through a really bad breakup. My son was bullied at school, so I had to take him out and homeschool him. And then to top it all, I fell off the cliff in Porto. I literally fell off the cliff. And I think that was universe trying to tell me something. And I wasn't listening because I was so focused on doing the right thing and assessing my progress on this spiritual journey based on the criteria I use for everything else, right? And I was failing at spirituality too, because it wasn't happening according to what the book was telling me it would look like. And so I always say the biggest heartbreak of my life is that story crumbling down completely. When you look at the enormity of it, the whole construction you have built up over the years, and it has finally crumbled down, and you think, "Oh my God, I actually believed all those things." And once you get over that, then it gets easier. Then you start to really experiment, and then you find courage to go and live in the moment and try new things. And you find all these amazing people. The community starts to emerge, and you realize you're not alone. We have never been alone. We have always been connected. Everything we go through, other people go through as well.
Exactly.
And there is so much we can learn from each other and support each other, especially through these, really difficult times through which we live at the moment.
Yeah. Sonja, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people watching this and listening to this will say, "Oh, this is an amazing story, but not for me. I cannot do this." So if we would want to contradict that, not in terms of going into an argument or going into a this is better or this is good or wrong, what could be a shift in how people look at life that is loosening things and changing mindset a little bit in order to make it easy to make that first move, even if they don't know where they are going to, even if they don't have all the answers? What mindset shifts could be a good one to start with? Just if you want to try this.
Well, first of all, I don't think we ever know where we are going. If you think about things we thought we would do when we were children and how differently life panned out, as they say, life is what happens when you are planning something else. So life is full of unpredictable turns. And this is why it's so fun and joyous, right? Because how boring it would be if we actually knew every single minute of every single day what's going to happen. But I think a good place to start is by creating some space for you on a daily basis where you can just be present with yourself. Whether this means going for a little walk every day on your own, or doing a bit of journaling, or rediscovering a hobby that you really enjoyed when you were, a child, bringing that sense of joy and playfulness and curiosity back. For me, that's where we start, learning how to be surprised again, learning how to be joyous again. It doesn't have to be a big transformation story. I don't expect my clients to, do things I have done. I always push myself to extreme because this is who I am. I come from a different set of circumstances. I had a life story that was different than most people. I lived through the war. So that shaped who I am and the risk I'm willing to take. I don't expect other people to do the same, but I expect people to start taking accountability for their own happiness, because otherwise we can't contribute to change in any meaningful way in our society, in our organizations, if we are not willing, especially as leaders, to lead that change. That means becoming more conscious of how you behave, of what you add to the workplace, of how you treat your colleagues or your teammates, of how open-minded you are to listen to a different perspective. When we are pushed in this binary existence of good and bad, light and dark, right and wrong, I don't even know what it means anymore. Why is it that it's always just two choices? That's not true. We have a million choices every day.
Exactly.
They may not be easy always to exercise, but they're available to us. Why would anyone want to feel like a hostage in their own life? It's a precious life. You're here for just a fraction in a big scheme of things, right? A fraction of time. Don't we want to enjoy that time here? Don't we want to teach our kids how to enjoy that time? Don't we want to contribute to our society in a more meaningful way? But for that, we need to have space. We need to be asking ourselves those questions. So this is not just into rushing into solutions and changing things overnight. It's becoming more mindful. It's becoming more present with what is the question we are asking to begin with. Because without what we are talking about, without raising human consciousness, we can't improve life here. We can't change things for the better. We can't innovate. It amazes me when I start to think about my previous career in innovation, how little innovation we have actually seen. And I'm not talking technological advancement. That to me is not innovation, what we are doing. We have not solved a single big problem that we face, either in our corporate world, entrepreneurial world, or in society. Our education system is completely outdated, hundreds of years outdated. Our political system is not worth the paper it's written on. We talk about democracy, but we don't even know what it means today anymore. Don't we want to work on those big problems? Don't we want to solve them in a new creative way? But for that, we need to reconnect with that creativity in us. We need to create space in which people can be creative again. Creativity is not just for people who go to art school. Without creativity, we can't do our job in the 21st century. It's an essential skill. So why are we going through schools and not teaching creativity to everyone? Why are we not teaching our executives how to be more creative, so that they can problem solve instead of working from a same old place, repeating the same old? Just look at our response to COVID and how outdated it was, right? Every single government resorted back to some off-the-shelf solution that was dusted off and implemented without taking into consideration that we live in 21st century, that we work in a different way, that we need different things, that our mental health is equally important as our physical health. But there was no space for creative solution. There was no space for creative response because everyone is burned out. Everyone is pushed beyond their limits. So there is no space to think creatively. There is no space to brainstorm, to do anything different. So we go back and we do the same old. We resort back to, contracts we have agreed to in terms of our working conditions, and we don't challenge anymore. And as a result, we had a big resignation. We have the new generations that are completely disillusioned about working for anyone else. And we are not giving space and time and energy into people who really want to lead in a new way. I keep saying women our age are more interesting than ever before. I am more interesting now at 53 than I have ever been before. And I have made myself unemployable in this system. If I ever wanted to go back and take a big job again, no one would hire me because I don't fit the box anymore.
You don't fit the old system anymore. Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't want to fit a box, and we need people that don't fit the box. who can think
Exactly.
outside of the norm, outside of business as usual, who can ask uncomfortable questions, who are ready to lead by example. That's what it means to be a leader, not just pep talk to the teams and then, oh, but different rules apply to me. No, I am putting myself through all of this because I'm also learning through that experience so that I can bring new insights, not just to my children and my family and the way I behave, in my circles, but to my clients, to every single organization I work with. It takes a different set of skills. It takes a different types of presence. I say I prepare myself before every retreat for a couple of days of meditation and insight and painting to get in a state where I can hold the space in a way where I don't introduce any of my opinion or I don't defend anything. I'm just holding space for a group. Energetically, emotionally, mentally. Understand what I'm talking about. That's what it takes. There is no space there for my ambition, for my idea of what the group should be. So there is no preparation, there is no slides, but I need to be present. And sometimes for days, if it's a 3 or 4 day retreat with a corporate team, oh my God, do you need to be present and fully conscious and mindful and not allow your ego to intervene, not for a single second where you're telling them what to do. You're enabling them to get to that realization themselves.
Absolutely. And you learn them how to get into that state themselves. And this is something that is so important because all the qualities and all the approaches that you are describing are all happening in our prefrontal cortex, in our newest brain. And what I notice is that a lot of people, a lot of women are so anxious, are so stressed, are scared because they don't know what is coming, and they feel that the old world is going to come to an end somehow, and they want to stick to it, and so they are in their reptilian brains. This is how we are wired. This is normal. So for people, don't start feeling guilty or ashamed. This is how we are wired. If we are in stress, we go into our reptilian brain, and what we do is we fight, we flight, or we paralyze. And there's no room there for creativity. There's no room for options. There's no room for co-creation. There's no room for anything else than those things. And so when you talk about meditation and mindfulness and connecting with nature and going on a retreat, like they do with you, like they do with me, those are the moments where you can learn how to activate your prefrontal cortex and how to live and interact from a place of creativity and co-creation and trust and options and nuances and future and things like that. So the thing is, it is the way we are wired, and there's so much pressure on us. There's so much stress that we just go back into our reptilian brains. And because we don't take the time to reflect on what we are doing, because we don't take the time to be still, to be mindful, we don't get there, and we are just running. I've been there, you've been there, and a lot of people are still there, and I think it's both our mission to help them and to hold the space to get out of there and to learn how to stay out of there, or how to be aware that where you are and come into that other space where a lot of other things are possible.
And I honestly think that it's possible, that it's easier than people think, especially with the right help and support from coaches, healers, groups, community. I think there is more and more awareness now than ever before. And now, especially in the post-COVID world, we talk more about mental health than we have ever, put emphasis on that, which is good. It's actually great. There's more awareness even in corporate world when we talk about conscious leadership, about creativity, about open mindset. There is more and more leaders that are waking up, who are speaking about this, who are leading by example. So I think the time is right, but it takes a choice, because this requires work, and people need to make this choice for themselves. I never try to sell this to anyone. I don't think it's our job to convince anyone. People change only when they're ready to change, when they're ready to take a step. And we can help and support, but we can't tell them, what to do, because that's something that they need to figure out for themselves. And that to me is also why the journey is so empowering, right? Because this is not about having a guru or having a healer or coach micromanage every step of your journey for you and tell you every step how to do it and what to do. This is you discovering for the first time in your adult life how to navigate this space on your own. And everything goes. There is no wrong answer. There is no failed experiment. Life is nothing but a series of experiments, and we learn how to flow. And that balance of feminine and masculine is really important because it's the feminine that has the ability to flow, that is more creative. Masculine can then lead and execute on that. But without that balance in us, we are stuck in the old story where we feel paralyzed, where we feel we are out of options, where the choices presented to us are not the choices we want to take. You know, if you are given a binary choice, usually both choices are bad for you. You need to learn what is the right choice. And the only way to do that is to take some time, to create a space, to bring a routine of creativity. Is not something that happens in 5 minutes between two meetings, or time for myself is not just after kids have gone to bed. Exercise that right for yourself every day and see how your life changes, how your kids start to behave in a different way, how your relationship with your husband changes. We have been brainwashed into feeling guilty if we take time for ourselves. I often hear from women, oh, but how can I come to a retreat? Who's going to take care of my children? Or my family needs that, so I can't really afford to go on a retreat. So that means I don't think I'm worth it.
Exactly.
Right? Everything else is more important. Let's go on another lavish holiday as a family, or let's buy, new shoes for my child, or whatever else. Everything else is always more important than prioritizing our own well-being, our own health. And this is something that's been done systematically to us for years and years, something that hasn't changed. When I started running retreats a year ago, I tried to get corporate sponsorship. I tried to speak to organizations and say, this is important. We need women leadership development that's designed by women who know what they're talking about. You can't just slap a named woman in front of a leadership program and then go and teach them how to lean in and be more masculine and do more things like men. We are different. We are wired differently. We offer so much potential and beautiful energy that any organization can benefit from. But we need to start investing in these women. We need to teach them how to develop their own voice. Without that voice, they cannot represent themselves, which means we're stuck in this cycle when we are fighting the same battle. Even the word fight. I don't want to fight anything anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is not a fight. I just want to create a system in which we are truly equals, where we are really given a seat at the table, where we are co-creating a new system for the generations to come that's built on values that both sides believe in. This applies all to men as well. They need to connect with their feminine energy. They need to learn how to be more vulnerable. Too much pressure has been put on their shoulders to be in charge, to always know, to never make a mistake. No wonder they're petrified. No wonder they're paralyzed. When you speak to executives, what you hear over and over and over is, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what the right decision is, but I'm also petrified to make a wrong one because that means I will be out of job. Who's going to support my family? What does it mean for me as a man? How am I going to be perceived by my children or by my wife? Are they going to see worth in me, right?
Yeah.
But worth is not something that anyone else can give you.
Exactly.
But yourself.
Exactly.
So there is a lot here that we can talk about in terms of just the reparenting process, giving ourselves what we have not received as children growing up, that our parents didn't know how to give us, so that we can really build into people that we were supposed to be from the beginning. And there is a lot to be done there in terms of our self-worth and our values and our confidence. And how we speak our truth and how we know what is the right thing for us.
Yeah. And it's time. Absolutely, it is time. And we are we have the right to do that. Actually, it is our birthright. And every day is a new day where we can choose us, and where we can choose for self-validation, and where we can look for sponsorship and for mentorship and for community building and for creating new ways of humanity, new ways of community. I think it is not only something that we need to do for ourselves, but also for our children, giving the right example, showing them that things can be different. And I think there's so much possibilities, so much opportunities for us to stand up. And there is a level, there is an organizational level, there is a societal level that needs to also be activated. But we can activate ourselves also. And I would really want to invite to connect with us, connect with Sonja, connect with me. If you want to find out more, if you want to make that first move, if you want to be supported or sponsored into that journey, there are coaches, there are healers who can do that. There are communities set up in order to support this new way. It's actually not a new way; it is the way to live and to create life, not only for yourself but for all your stakeholders. I think it is so important. It is so essential, and I don't want to be preaching. Absolutely not. This is just my strong belief, and also my mission to be supportive there. And I know it is also yours, Sonja. I think
absolutely.
that,
I think it's more than our birthright. I think it's our responsibility as well for ourselves to take responsibility for our lives, for our health, for our well-being, for our potential, to go and explore and be whatever we think we ought to be in this moment in time, to lead by example, to show to our kids that a different world is possible. We get to co-create that world. We need to be active participants in that world. So I think it's our responsibility to do this work, to join other women, to help support younger girls who are coming and who don't have it easier than we had. Really, it really saddens me to see that my daughter at 28 is going through the same troubles that I have gone through when I was her age, that young women are still silenced in the workplace, that are still not given the same opportunity. So we need to do better. We need to do better as women. We need to support each other. We need to be supporting of our children. We need to be supportive of our partners and show them that there is a different way for them too, because this is not man versus woman. This is just finding and creating space in time in which we can be humans again, where human values are important again, where we can reconnect across the world, across the globe, and realize we are all the same. There is no difference, all this nonsense of, dividing us on political and religious and national lines. We're just people at the end. And we get to choose to live. Beautiful people with amazing potential on this beautiful planet of ours. Look at the nature. I mean, I'm in awe. Every morning I go for a walk through the vineyards, and I'm in awe of how beautiful the world is. We get to participate and be part of it. And I think we should really take that to heart.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful invitation to end this conversation with, Sonja. So my invitation, and I know it's yours too, is to connect with us. If you want to find out more how we can support you, just let us know. In the comments below this video, you will find all the information you need to connect. And I'm pretty sure that we inspired you. I think Sonja's story is so amazing. It is a bit unusual. I can understand if you say, okay, this is going too far for me right now, but just, become aware of where you are and where you want to be. Take that first step. Have faith, have trust in what you can, and know that you don't have to know all the answers, that you never know all the answers. Even if you feel now you are comfortable and you're secure and you don't take any risks, you never know what's happening. And so choose yourself what is happening. Don't let somebody else or circumstances choose for you. That's, I guess, the main message that I want to give. Sonja, last message for the audience.
I think the biggest change is when you notice the softness in you again. And you notice that shield that you have been carrying your whole life, that armor that you have built around you to protect yourself and to feel safe in a world that wasn't really meant for you, is gone. And when you can embrace every single person, woman, child, man, with that openness and generosity and kindness, without the need to convince anyone or to fight for anything. And I want us all to embrace that softness, to open our hearts to each other, to hear beyond the political narrative that we are hearing at the moment. Just remember, we are all in this together, all of us.
Beautiful. To softness. Thank you so much, Sonja, for sharing your story, for sharing your wisdom, for being here, for taking up this responsibility, for being the example. You rock.
Thank you so much.